Hello everyone and welcome to Communications in Recovery. I've gathered 5 panelists to share insights and actionable takeaway advice on what we should be saying, when we should say it, and how do we communicate during this time of recovery from COVID-19. This webinar will last for 1 hour. You can post questions and comments on the box opposite on your right. We're also recording this so you can view it on YouTube. Now I'd like to introduce our 5 panelists, starting with David Johnson, founder and CEO of Delivering Asia, who's based here in Bangkok, Thailand. Next up is Joanne Dennison, live and direct from Massachusetts, USA. Good night, Massachusetts, because it's quite late night there for Joanne. And Joanne is an adjunct professor at Boston University, well-known educator in the meetings industry and the mastermind behind the Meet Guide. Next up is Jens Streinhardt, Executive Director of the Mekong Tourism Coordinating Office and also CEO and founder of Chameleon Strategies, based here in Bangkok, Thailand. And from Sydney, Australia, we have Claire Mann, best-selling author, organisational psychologist and Managing Director of Communicate 31. And rounding our panel up of 5, representing TICA, the Thailand Incentive Convention Association, is Kumprachum Tantiprasert. Kumprachum is Vice President of TICA and also Vice President Sales DUSA International. Without further ado, let's go into our panel and kicking off with an insight into China and how we should be communicating with the Chinese ready for the rebound. Over to you, David Johnson, Delivering Asia Communications.
Because we've just finished a study with C9 Hotel Works in China, just to try to get an idea about the China traveling sentiment. And we did this study specifically for Thailand, called the China Thailand Travel Sentiment Study. And that's what I'd just like to go through a few key findings from that. This was a study which was done by we looked at 1,000 qualified travelers in the market, and it was done from key urban centers, Shanghai, Beijing, and there it is. Let's just quickly get into it. So it's just talking about the post-COVID challenge, because behavior has changed. This is where it all started, and I think sometimes you can forget that Chinese have been under lockdown. They're coming out of lockdown after about 3 months, and our survey was quite interesting in that some of the findings from it were that that the travelers who are going to be emerging fastest are going to be the younger travelers. So by far the largest proportion, about 82% of the travelers who responded to the survey were keen to travel to Thailand. They were below 40 years old. 43% are getting on for half, are between 20 and 30. So it's just a much younger demographic is emerging, who really want to get out, who are eager to do that, who want to do it independently. 83% preferring FIT travel. So gone are the days of the group certainly coming out of China as maybe what we could call the first responding or an early pioneering market. Coming from China. Some of the other information that came out of the study, sorry, David, this is on timelines, but obviously there's kind of an understanding that there'll be domestic plays first in most markets, certainly in Asia, that is, and then that'll be coming through into the second and third quarters from the regional markets, but China really being the first one. Some of the key things that there's are the differences in what they're looking for. There's obviously some storylines, some narratives which are going to be really important on inspiration now to travel again, inspiring the younger traveler. Hygiene is going to be important. It's going to be really important to be able to prove the results of hygienic. What sort of responses that they have given to COVID-19. Space is going to be another key storyline in terms of the resort, how it's spaced, how social distancing is going to impact itself. This is going to be seen in terms of the new travel protocols for sure. There's still quarantine in place. There's all sorts of protocols that are coming into place in hotels, and all the travel industry will need to respond to that. But that's obviously something that's going to be important, and it's going to be uppermost in the traveler's mind. Other things they're looking for is nature. Nature's a really, really interesting story. This is not a typical traveler coming out of China now. This is not a traveler interested in shopping, which is really, really interesting. This is someone who is interested much more in experiential travel. So space and hygiene, these are some of the key things to look at. But it's also nature, sightseeing, culture, authenticity. So there's sort of some new storylines emerging. But one of the key things that I wanted to mention briefly, because my 5 minutes is going to be up very quickly, if it's not already, is how to reach these type of new travelers. And I think we all know and can all recognize that digital communications has just skyrocketed. People are sitting at home, and what are they doing? They're on digital communications. There's been so there's a few new tools that I think hotels need to consider. One of them, thanks David, one of them is Fliggy. Fliggy is owned by Alibaba. It's a new shop front, really more youth focused shop front. It's a really important discovery tool for destinations, and it's a booking tool. So it's a quick to market tool. However, these things don't take 5 minutes to set up. There's a 1 to 3 month process to get your Fliggy account up and running. So in terms of recovery plans and strategies, we'd certainly recommend that's part of the thinking of the hospitality industry. Alipay is another one. Alipay is a key system that is a key payment system when you're on the ground, also part of the Alibaba group. So these are really important tools, and for some of the reasons that I'm mentioning there. And then there's if we can just flick onto the next one, David. And then there's a really important. I mean, I'd be surprised if certainly your kids, maybe you too, you're doing your TikToks at home. I'd like to see your TikTok after this, David, too. I'm sure you've got your account and you're there prancing around to these 15 seconds. Well, TikTok's been around for a while. And it's called Douyin in Mandarin, and it's been, but it is the social media platform that has skyrocketed across the globe. But it's been in China for some time, but it is incredibly taken off. So these are short, fun, entertaining pieces of communication that can be used, and there's a whole new ecosystem that goes with that. So in terms of some key tips about how to get in touch with them, the travelers of the future, that's some of them. And we'll share these slides afterwards, and so if anyone can have a look in some more detail, ask questions, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you, David, for that. Very interesting. Actually, I'm not on TikTok. I've got to get on it. I can't believe it. I'm missing out there. Yeah. Now we come on to a lady that's well known in Thailand in the MICE industry. And TCEP, the Thailand Convention Exhibition Bureau, brought this MICE educator to the city, and we had a MICE boot camp, that's meetings, incentives, conventions, exhibitions. And anyone who's studied with Joanne will know that she has a catchphrase. And if Kate Saracen is watching, she'll know what I'm about to say. It's read the books, read the books, read the books, because there's some great books about the meetings industry, and Joanne has been doing some great work educating. So Joanne's coming live and direct from Massachusetts, and is going to give us an overview of communicating with a view to the US market. It's all yours, Joanne.
Okay, thank you. The United States, like everywhere else in the world, is very confused, and a lot is going on. And part of what is impacting us and meetings and events is the fact that we have 50 states and 5 territories, and basically every state is being allowed to make their own decisions, similar to 50 countries would. So because of that, that is having a huge impact on meetings and events, both domestically and meetings events in the future, because nobody knows when they're going to be able to have meetings and events of what size, even within certain states. So we do know that we're going to go back to face-to-face meetings. One of the big concerns right now, if you talk to most US planners right now, they will tell you that usually their first meetings right now are scheduled for sometime in the fall, maybe September, more toward October, November. The big concern is they do expect us to get a second wave of the virus. It may even come earlier than fall because of the fact that every state is making their own decisions. I say that just to kind of explain to you where meeting planners are at this particular moment. In terms of Asia, I significantly doubt that there will be much international travel at all until next year. Obviously, there are some exceptions, but I'm trying to look, overall. So my feeling is that a lot of people will not be planning meetings and events in Asia, especially possibly until 2022. And part of it is, and I will apologize for even saying it, is a lot of the American mindset that all of Asia is the same. And a lot of people are still struggling with the beginnings of the virus being in Asia and everything like that. So a lot of people, of course, are aware that every country is different, but that's kind of the mindset. So I would not expect any significant meetings going into Asia as a whole until 2021, possibly 2022. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, is how to reach people. Right now, many, I don't even know if I could say most of the meeting planners I know have been furloughed or their jobs have been cut. Whether it be temporarily or permanently, that's still up in the air. Because of it, many of them do not have access to their email. And I do a lot of email mailings also, group emails. And that's how I began to realize, wait, people aren't even getting this because they don't have access to their emails. So I think as you move forward in terms of communicating with people, that's a very important thing to remember. And also, they are not, our whole country overall is at a shelter-in-place, stay-at-home type of mentality or by law. And so people are not going into the offices, so print material is not accessible either. So when you think about how to communicate with planners to keep your name in front of people, I definitely would jump on the conversation of social media, electronic communications, because I agree with David that people are online on, Facebook, Instagram, many of the social media platforms. So that probably is the best way to reach them at this point. What I would suggest in terms of what's appropriate at this point, we're about 6-7 weeks in to where our country woke up and started taking action. So it's not the same intensity of, let's say, 3 weeks ago, where everything was built around fear. So I do think it is safe to give some messaging. I'd say it should definitely not be salesy. I think it needs to be very much a positive message, taking people on experiences, some humor, as long as it's not mean humor. Definitely people are over here, at least, are looking for something to laugh about. And I think one of the things to remember also is people need to be educated about Thailand. They know it as a country. They may know Phuket, they know Bangkok, maybe one other place. Maybe take them on the journey so they understand Thailand as a whole better and why they would want to go there. Just remember, they're going to be bombarded, and that's going to start soon. And after everything lifts, even more so. So unified collective messages, I think, will be more present and be able to be heard instead of 1,000 separate messages. So that would be my opinion on how to reach the US market at the current time.
Unmute myself. Thanks, Joanne, for that. We'll be coming back to you with the questions, so don't go to bed yet, because I know it's late in Massachusetts. Moving swiftly on to the Mekong region, we're blessed to have Jens Streiner, Executive Director of the Mekong Tourism Coordinating Office, with us here today. And he is going to give us an update on the initiatives.
Good. Thank you, David, for inviting me, and good morning from Bangkok. I do have a couple of slides as David is looking to bring them up. I just wanted to quickly comment on David Johnson's presentation and study on the Chinese market. I used to live in China for 5 years, as many know, and co-founded a company called Dragon Trail. I completely agree with the study that has been done. It will be a different Chinese consumer. It will be younger. It will be all about social media, and it will be more complex. So it's something that you can't really just do on the side, but need to focus. But it's also a great opportunity to really create a new China strategy, not focus on just volume and groups, but really focus on yield, quality, and segments. Having said that, obviously the China market will be very competitive, and it also will be a market, as David said, that is focused on safety and sanitation. So if destinations and hotels and MICE venues are not ready for that, it will be very difficult to compete, because Chinese consumers are seeing and taking what's going on at home as a benchmark. And obviously the measures that are being taken in China, are quite stringent as it relates to safety measures. That's also why we see a big opportunity actually in the Mekong region, or regional collaboration frameworks also as with ASEAN, to look at how can we stimulate travel when it resumes with neighboring countries. People from Laos, traveling to Thailand, for example, don't really see it as an international trip. They see it visiting friends, and you can go by car even, and getting on a plane will be a lot more complicated. So the Mekong tourism collaboration really includes these 6 countries from China, which is Yunnan and Guangxi, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. So the office is owned by the 6 governments, and we're collaborating with the public and the private sector. So we've done a couple things when it comes to collaboration. We created a resource page that you can visit. We also created a Mekong Tourism Advisory Group. You see a link there with 70 plus professionals. And we had our first meeting virtually, which was very engaged. So I think this is really, kind of bringing together the public and the private sector, which I think is more important now than ever. So we have launched various initiatives over the last 5 years. Many of you may know Mekong Moments, or the Mekong Mini Movie Festival, where people share their experiences in photo or video format and inspire other people. We also have our MIST program, which focuses on innovation and startups in the region. And also our Mekong Heroes program that we just launched to really recognize individuals that have really promoted and innovated in responsible and sustainable tourism. What I want to talk to you today is 2 new initiatives that we're looking to launch as relates to the recovery process. One is called Mekong Memories, which is really a connected campaign to Mekong Moments. And the other one is Mekong Deals. So when we talk about this, we kind of connect these 2 campaigns to really kind of build something that we believe can accelerate the process. All these campaigns and all these initiatives will be part of a new site that we're looking to launch later on this year, which is called Mekong.travel, which is the first consumer travel website for the Mekong region, bringing all these initiatives together. Now, what's unique about Mekong Memories and Mekong Deals is that really everybody can participate. It is a truly collaborative campaign. So anybody means, it could be a walking tour, it could be a bar, a restaurant, a hotel, a MICE venue, an airline, hotel companies, whatever it might be, anyone can participate. And that's globally unique. We're working with 4 launch partners that we cannot mention yet, but these are 2 big hotel companies in the region, and also 2 big tour operators. Now Mekong Memories is really around sharing memories to inspire others. So it's going back to past guests and asking them to share their experiences from when they were able to travel in the region, or when they were able to attend an event in the region, when they were eating in a restaurant, whatever experience they had, put it on their own social media, tag it with hashtag Mekong Memories, and then they can win prizes that we get from the industry. Now, this creates a content cloud which will inspire other people to travel to the Mekong region, because when travel resumes, it will be very competitive. So it's like the advertising scheme. The more you see images about a different product, the more you want to have this product, you know. So this is really something that will be very exciting and unique globally. Now we connected with Mekong Deals, where then people can, the companies and businesses can also showcase their offers, which can be sold via vouchers, highly discounted, but also non-refundable. So you can see here how Mekong Deals work. So these vouchers will be facilitated and the sales through at the company level, at the business level, and they have a certain guideline to be consistent, you know, have a strong discount and non-refundable, to really give money right back into the pockets of the businesses to help them survive, which that is now very important, you know, especially these small businesses that are really struggling to survive. And we believe actually, if these small businesses and these experiences go away, actually a part of the Mekong region will disappear, you know. And that's why people attend meetings, because they want to experience these unique, authentically local things. Now, this is a screenshot of the new Mekong.travel site. And you can see here how we can bring these experiences together. So it's all, as David said before, it's about destinations and it's about experiences, and not so much about brands at this point, you know. So that's why we really want to inspire people. So as I said, the small businesses are important for us. So we created the Experience Mekong Collection, which has now 300 plus small, responsible travel businesses and social enterprises in all the 6 countries. And these are the real stars of the Mekong region. They are the ones that inspire people to go there. These are the little restaurant, the little homestay, the little attraction, you know, that you don't find on a booking.com and a TripAdvisor. So what we're doing with these now, you can obviously find them on mekongtourism.org, you know, on the Experience Mekong Collection tab. You can then find all these businesses. You can nominate businesses that you may have been to and you want to get added. But one thing that we're doing is, here you see a listing. We also promote these on social media, you know, to really tell the stories of these businesses. And then we created a consumer site as well to inspire consumers to visit these. This site will be integrated into Mekong.travel. And very exciting, we created the Experience Mekong Collection showcases. So every year we showcase one business per country, and you can see these businesses are truly inspiring and truly innovative. Then we would partner with Mahidol University, and we created case studies so other businesses can learn, you know, how to also learn from these innovations and from these businesses. We've done the same thing for 2019, you know, and you can see now that the businesses that were recognized in 2019, again, very inspiring businesses. And again, we created case studies together with Mahidol University. So now we're doing, actually, for the first time, we're opening up the voting to the public, you know. So actually, later on this week, we're announcing it to the media. You're the first ones to really see it. You can go to mekongtourism.org. You can find Experience Mekong Collection. You see the banner on the top. You click on it, and you can vote for your Experience Mekong showcases. Why is that important now? It's important because, again, these small businesses, I believe, are the stars of the region. We need to protect them, you know, that they survive. But also, with this platform, we can also help them to now get other people to visit them. And all these businesses will be part of Mekong Memories and Mekong Deals as well, as a big component of how we want to run these campaigns. I know David has a link. If you want to find out about more our programs, we have a little booklet, you know, where you can find out more. And we hope that anybody on the call here will participate in the new Mekong Memories and the Mekong Deals campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jens, for that. Very interesting, fascinating. And I hope everyone who's been to Mekong and has got photos or video participates in the campaign. We'll be coming back to you shortly on the Q&A. Next up, we're going to Sydney, Australia with Claire Mann. And Claire is going to give us an update from her perspective on how we should be communicating in the market. So let's pull up Claire. Over to you.
Thank you. And I'm really struck by a previous presentation of the extent to which, people commit to what they create. And when you've got people involved in that, and I think that's social proof, that's a huge element of these innovative processes moving forward. But I've been studying, I guess, the human condition for the last 30 years. And I'm interested in the whole psychology of human behavior, particularly what's happening now. We're obviously in unprecedented times, and people are experiencing a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty. It seems from research they've moved directly thinking about their own health 100% of the time to thinking, of course, about the future, their jobs. It's suddenly not over in a couple of weeks, and it's not going to be business as usual. And of course, when people are under fear and uncertainty, they perceive information very differently, and therefore they make decisions differently. All the evidence from neuroscience tells us is that when people are stressed or they're anxious, their blood flows to the back of the brain. It moves away to the fight and flight area, which means they cannot access the rational, explorative sort of ways of making decisions, and they can't hear the messages we have traditionally given them to sell our products and services in a way they did before. They literally are in fight or flight. Okay, so they then polarize, of course, in terms of their emotions. So we've got to be very careful in this coming back, how we communicate with people. Absolutely agree with Joanne. It cannot be salesy. People polarize and immediately, even if it's valuable information for them, how can you be promoting that at a time like this when people have lost their jobs, when their businesses have gone belly up and whatever? So against that backcloth, as in all communication, we've got to keep communicating with people, but we've got an opportunity to demonstrate our brand, demonstrate our culture, our concern as decent human beings, but also to give people hope moving forward. So my first point is, as in all communication, just don't make assumptions about where we think people are coming from. There is a lot of suffering out there. People have lost their jobs, their finances, their livelihoods, and loved ones. However, there are a lot of companies that actually are thriving under this. In Australia alone at the moment, the solar power industry has just skyrocketed as people are wanting to become more independent, for instance. Horticulture is growing. So people have money, things that are moving in different sort of areas. They're wanting self-sufficiency. So we need to ask people really what they want. Now, I know we do this all the time in marketing. We try to get into their pains and their pleasures, but we can immediately expect that they're going to want, what are their specifics, desires, for them to feel safe coming back into making decisions about travel and where they go to, what countries, Thailand in this case. But also we need to instill confidence in them. How can we show them that our methods in our programs, in our venues are robust and safe? And also sustainable. This was something that was brought up at the beginning in the first presentation. One thing I found in a little bit of my anecdotal research, speaking to professionals at the moment and clients, is this whole regeneration of interest in sustainability. Is people are getting information about how the environment is regenerating, and it is a need for them to want a safer future for their children. So I think there's, if we can extrapolate for a moment from that, is this ecotourism, becoming sustainable, responsible, can be taken into the mix. But I think also people are concerned about the nature of zoonotic diseases, where it's come from. They might put a broad brush across Asia. And so I think we need to embrace a growing movement, which is the plant-based revolution, and actually get on the bandwagon of that and ensure that we offer people those options as well. Now, words are cheap. If we just say, yeah, we're doing this and we're a safe environment and whatever, get creative in the preparation of that communication. Follow your cleaning crews around, put a camera on their shoulder, or get a film crew with them to see what they're doing, the extent of what's happening, and collaborate with innovative companies, perhaps using UV cleaning methods. You can collaborate with them, get sections on their online promotions about, we are creating environments, we're taking this seriously, so when you're ready to come back, enjoy the experiences and the needs you have. So it's all about transparency. And I know certainly the traveler from Australia, I'm originally from England, but is equality, and people want the person who's cleaning the room to be equally involved in the process. So that's going to be important, appealing to the Australians, is involve your cleaning crew in this, and your catering or you might, if you've laid them off, is what can you do to ensure that they're also contributing to some sort of decision making. So I guess all of this is about finding ways to communicate safety, responsibility, and transparency. Now, whatever you discover through that, and I don't suggest big surveys, but short online sort of interactions around those particular areas, you then have got to, I think there's an opportunity to really customize our message here. You've got the same product, the same venue, the same environment, the community they're coming into, but the language has to respond to the emotions, and let's not assume what they're going to come up with. Okay, I suggest a good reference would be is to read a book called Ask by Ryan Levesque, and he talks about putting people into different groups. Now, we do this in marketing, of course, but he's a wonderful way of him doing that. And I suggest as a reference is go and have a look at the Apple main website. And if you look at the bottom right-hand side, there's 4 different areas there selling exactly the same product, but emotionally, which is what we really want to connect with at the moment. They have a business section, education, healthcare, and government. And when you click on those, the whole eliciting of emotions is responding very differently. It's beyond marketing. Remember, we've got safety, we've got lack of confidence, we've got concerns about health and where our food is produced. Is the same on the Apple website. They are selling computers, the same operating system, but the experience is completely differently. Think of it against the backcloth of the emotions of fear and anxiety and instilling confidence. So if you've got a mother who wants to take 3 children away on holiday in the future, her needs are going to be completely different to the business traveler who wants the safety, but also wants the experience for their business clients to be able to bring all those together. So against that backcloth, there is, as we're seeing, and we've said in a few presentations already, is people are increasingly going on to the digital market. That's the method in which we're going to communicate with people. We've moved away from what the Australians call lumpy mail, although everyone likes to get a brochure because we get so little at the moment. But there is opportunity, but it's uncertain which way this is going to go. And I think it'll become clear as time goes on, but we've really got to understand technology and the psychology of generational differences. We already know that millennials are spending a huge amount of time. They're addicted to their devices, so to speak, anyone with teenage children or young people in their 20s. But I would suggest look a little bit further, have a look at a YouTube documentary called Plugged In, which looks at the development of social media and the psychology behind it. It's not necessarily a coincidence that young people particularly, are addicted to their devices. It was actually all based on behavioral modification. However, what I'm finding, and I found in the last 6 weeks in my own research, is that it's not just millennials that are spending more and more time on their devices through lockdown, but the professional is changing the opportunity for them to learn. So lawyers, accountants, people that ostensibly would have come to hotels to have business conferences, are saying, well, I can perhaps now do that online. I can actually link into that, so I don't want to travel to the other side of the world to do it. However, that may not result in what happens as we come back into the market. We might find, as these individuals are saying, well, I don't have to do a commute, I don't have to deal with the politics, I prefer working at home, they may be very eager to go to the professional conferences. We may see 500, 1,000 people again, because they're eager to get out and enjoy that and skin on skin, so to speak, in this changed new world. However, we might have to transform to having small events. We may not have those big events again. We might have 30 to 50 people, but a new diversification happens when we're going to be live streaming that. We've got to find a way to be able to procure those people moving forward so that when they do have the luxury holiday later on, we're going to have to be finding out about that. Have a look at some of the generational differences. Another book I'd move you to is The Success Zone, which talks about the different languages we speak to them. So for me, I guess 3 actions coming out of this is we need to continue communicating with our audience right now. We're going to communicate transparency, our culture, our real concern as human beings that we want to fulfill their needs, but we also have a humanitarian response to what's going on. Find out what they want by asking them, literally. Increase your transparency. Look at really creative ways to show them that you're putting your money where your mouth is. Assist them in instilling that confidence in them and showing them the safety measures and the innovative ways you're doing it. And of course, customize your message. respond to those different emotional needs, knowing that they're in fight or flight a lot of the time, particularly the fear of financially and things, and also be mindful of the technology and use that moving forward. Thank you. I'll see you on the Q&A.
Thank you, Claire. Very insightful. I'll certainly personally be looking at the books and the YouTube video that you referenced. Some very good advice for us. Next up, to round up our panel, and this lady has the best background view of Bangkok behind her. Kum Prachum is Vice President of TICA, the Thailand Incentive Convention Association. We're lucky to have her here today, and she's going to update us, TICA members, and the wider audience on what we should be communicating and how we go about it. Over to you, Kum Prachum.
Okay, Swadika, everyone. I'm sorry. Before we start talking about communication, I think the most important thing is we have to understand the market situation and the market trend. Okay. As you see that the trend of the travel industry is going to be changed right after the COVID. And I've done a lot of research, and I summarize in a very short message here today for all of you. Okay. I think the key aspect hospitality trends as industry recovers will include the following. Number one is health and safety and security. This will take precedence over any other factors when customers regain the confidence to travel again. Technology is number two. Will be the key enabler to provide seamless virtual customer experience that deliver enhanced value, particularly in meeting and conference. Number three is about wellness and holistic health experience. This will become a key component of all the hotels. Number four is food and beverage, where hygiene excellence is clearly visible. We are not going to see buffet lines set up anymore. People will want to keep distance in the public area and in the restaurant and so on and so forth. Okay, if I talk about this, it will be like on and on. So number five, focus on local experience, including team up with all the local partners to offer unique food and activities. Number six is a greater focus on sustainability practice. As guests and customers will be more mindful of whom they stay or do business with, and hotels will be expected to be more than transparent than ever after the COVID, okay? But now I narrow down to the MICE industry. I think moving forward, we should focus on providing fulfilling virtual and actual experience that add value beyond a traditional stay. How are we going to do that? I give you three examples here. Number one is virtual hotels destination tours could highlight the safety of hotels and locations and show what is on offer. Ultimately, giving guests, DMCs, bookers, organizers a peace of mind by allowing them to digital experience a destination, hotels, and others before they make a decision and make reservation. Number two is bring the outside in. What do I mean by bring the outside in? By partnership with local community, restaurant, local attraction, and others will allow us to provide unique and fulfilling local experience which our guests can enjoy from the safety and the comfort of the properties. Number three is to explore providing hybrid meeting models with the aim to offer bespoke virtual conferences, online meetings, and seminars. This will allow us to limit the size of the group on premises in line with physical distancing measures. At the same time, clients will benefit from ability to reach wider audience as we can broadcast their meeting live to whoever they wish. Now, there are 5 key aspects to keep in mind when you communicate to people, okay? Number one is your purpose will have to be very clear. Number two is you have to be very creative. Number three is clarity, simplicity. Don't make the message too complicated. Number four is relevance. And last but not least, you got to communicate with them regularly, both good news and bad news, okay? But the best practice to communicate during the time of disruption like this, we have to monitor the situation closely and see whether or not we need to send a message to our stakeholders. I think in our industry, you cannot just only communicate to the customer, but what about employees, partners, shareholders, media, government agencies, and general public? I think they are equally important to us. Really, there is no silver lining in terms of timeline, okay, between communicating when you are ready or not ready to respond to a situation. Sometimes you have to communicate to make yourself ready, okay? Nobody can tell you, hey, this is time to communicate, or let's wait until the situation is over. It's yourself to make a decision whether you're ready to communicate. During a crisis, there are many, many things happen that require an urgent attention. We can't wait until everything is 100% ready to communicate, but we can make a decision when it is likely to be the way. During the crisis, we just need to know the direction to go, make people go with us. The most important thing is when you communicate, it means we make a commitment, then we have to deliver on this. Like we are talking about safety, security, we're talking about hygiene, we're talking about food and beverage. We have to deliver the promise, whatever we already sent out to the public. Now, a lot of people asking me, should we be the first who communicate or later? It could be both. Being the first means we will get people attention, right? But we need to be very sensitive and be very careful because you're the first one. But being amongst the later groups means we must make sure that what we are offering is comprehensive and more creative than what others have put forward. But however, all of this depends on the situation and the readiness. But again, back to people asking, so where to communicate? There's multiple channels, including both online and offline platform. We can use same message, but it has to be customized to meet the nature of the stakeholders, as well as the media platform on which the message will be appear. Formal channels like, for example, email, website, letters, media release work well with details, heavy and formal content, in my opinion. But informal channels, including social media platforms such as Line, IG, Facebook, work well for informal content as message can be shared in variety of formats to get stakeholder attention. So that's what I would like to share with you in terms of MICE communication. Make sure you do a lot of research, make sure you follow the news, analyze the situation, and let's start communicating. You are the only one who knows whether you're ready or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Kumprachum. That was very insightful, great thought leadership, and some really solid advice for us as TICA members. Keep doing your great work at DUSIT and also TICA on the board. We're going to go quickly into questions. We've got a lot of questions here, and I need very quick answers from the panelists so we can squeeze in as many as possible. First up is, in a recent online survey in the USA, 75% of respondents felt that companies should not exploit the health crisis and should not be promoting their brand at the moment. At the same time, 8% felt that companies should stop advertising and promoting on social media channels altogether. Where does this leave us, Joanne? Should we be communicating now to the US market?
I think it's okay. I really do. It's been very interesting to watch the marketing over here. And here's kind of what I think is that if you lead with a message that's hope, that's help, that's heart, it will be received correctly. I have been fascinated to see how different companies across all kinds of industries have not used COVID, but have built in a lot of it based around what they are doing to support the people who are working in the hospitals and our delivery people and our people in our restaurants and everything, and show how they're, they changed it. They're now making masks, so I think hope, help, and heart, if you can build your message around that, and maybe sometimes a little humor, if it's appropriate, I definitely think you could be putting the word out there. And it's increasing tremendously, even in the past week.
Great, thank you. Claire, what do you think about us communicating to the Australian market? Is it appropriate, or would we be committing a cardinal sin if we start promoting it?
No, I think it's the same as what Joanne's actually saying. Now is the time, but it's how you do it. And I liked what you said about the hope and the heart. People smell inauthenticity a mile off. You've got to be real. Don't start pulling out celebrities to start showing the, razz the message up, so to speak. But, talk about our common humanity, talk about our hopes and dreams, and that we've got to be safe, secure, be responsible to others. But also we live by our dreams, but ensure it's authentic.
Great, thank you, Claire. Next question is, actually it was touched by David, but I'll just read this out and maybe he can add another comment. What are the best channels to connect with China?
I think the best channels are, you've got Fliggy, which is a key channel, WeChat, which is a key channel also. So those are the correct devices. And I think a lot of the things that Joanne and Claire have said are absolutely spot on for the China market too. I think it's important to hope and heart's great. It needs to be relevant. It needs to address some of the key areas: safety, hygiene, new travel protocols. These are going to be absolutely critical. But I think let's not forget too is to inspire and to have a little bit of fun, because I'm not people can be on their knees, but they can still laugh. They can still they'll be happy to have something which is inspiring. And certainly one of the key channels for that is TikTok. So if you don't have a TikTok account, jump on TikTok, have a look. Hotels are doing a lot of work through TikTok actually, that's not sales generated, which is inspiring, which is fun, which is communicating some of the key messages we've talked about. So those are some of the things that I have.
Great, thank you, David. I'm signing up for TikTok after this. You were very active in the China market. Can you give us a quick tip about communicating in the Chinese market?
Social media, has become the channel to communicate, but people are getting younger, and so social media is the key to communicate nowadays. I agree. Fliggy, obviously, Weibo and WeChat are still platforms that are very important. Ctrip gets still the majority of travel bookings, more than any other OTA in China. But I think Fliggy is interesting because it's just a different model. You can look at Ctrip kind of like the big shopping mall or supermarket, I should say, where everything is retailed under the brand of Ctrip. But Fliggy is like every hotel, every brand can have their own little store because it's built into the Taobao platform of Alibaba, and Fliggy is basically the travel section of it. So if you kind of look at it visually, so there's a little section which is travel, and then you have all these travel brands in there as little stores. So it's a great opportunity to really connect with customers, build your own travel outlets within Fliggy, which is a different strategy, but I think can be very effective, especially for this new market.
Great, thank you, Jens. We've got another question coming in from Karen Lohitneve, who's the founder of Midas PR here in Bangkok. And Karen is asking, with online getting more traction, should the hospitality business invest more in their own social media platforms and website? And what kind of content could we make people subscribe to and remain followers of a hotel social media page? Somebody else asked that. Basically, how do we stand out amongst the noise? Claire?
Yeah. I think on social media, people make a big mistake of just talking about themselves. Obviously, when we're trying to promote our businesses, that's important. But you've got to be able to share other people's stuff as well. And I think that's why something like looking at people putting their own experiences on and what one of our previous presentations is going to be so powerful. If we just use it as a means to say this is us and coming by, so to speak, it's a real no-no on social media. People feel annoyed if people aren't generous to other people. I think generosity is a really big important strategy on social media. But absolutely, get on there, share the stories, share the people like the fun. I absolutely agree with David here. Is share the sort of the outtakes, so to speak. I remember I've done a lot of work in the utilities, shared utilities sort of in big organizations before, and going behind the scenes, going into the kitchen, you know, taking some videos of people contributing. In fact, Donald Trump in one of his press conferences recently had people working in a local coffee shop with special needs. He had them on the stage. People love those stories, and I think we can actually use that and on social media to be real.
Great, thank you. Next question. Is it better to have a unifying national destination campaign like Amazing Thailand instead of micro campaigns promoting different destinations, say Bangkok, Phuket and Pattaya? If we have micro destination campaigns going into the market, could they confuse the customer? Is it stronger to go to the market with one message? What do you think, Kumprachum?
In my opinion, I think to have national destination campaign will give us a much stronger and better impact. It is better that we have one single message for the country. Thailand has a very strong brand, okay? We just need a right campaign to promote our brand. However, talking about those provinces like Phuket, like Pattaya, we can do a sub-campaign, okay? But most of all, we have to understand the needs of the customer. What is the customer pain point, okay? What does customer inside before we start promoting this sub-campaign? For example, I give you an example, David. We all know that the first market that will bounce back will be a domestic market, right? So what the domestic want, okay, and where are they going? We have to look into a safety and healthy measure first. There are, if I'm not wrong, 9 provinces which has no COVID case at all. So no doubt we have to start promoting all these provinces first because people can travel, right? But then after that, was that the last quarter, we think regional market is going to come back. Who are they? The top 3 countries that TAT already mentioned that they are going to put a lot of money and focus on is Japan, Korea, and China. Now we have to look into the customer pain point and customer insight. China, when they travel to Thailand, what do they want to do? Shopping, eating seafood, go to the spa, go to the beach, right? So we have to look, okay, if this is what they want to buy, are we ready? Which province is ready? Then we promote it. So as, let's say Japan, they like historical, they like history. Apart from Bangkok, where do they want to go? Ayutthaya, Sukhothai, which is in a second-tier city. So I think to answer to your question, to have one voice of campaign for the country, it will help strengthen the brand. Okay, and then let's do sub-campaign for each individual province. I think that way it is much better. Amazing Thailand is the best success story ever in the tourism industry in Thailand, and it's proved to be the most successful for us.
Okay, great. We just got a comment in from Ravi Ganglani, and he has said, following up on the question about a national campaign, yesterday the Hong Kong Luxury Hotel Association met, and they are now coming up with a campaign together to help drive business once the airport opens. Do you think this is a good idea?
Once the airport is open and people are ready to travel in, I think it's a good idea. It's actually we have to do it before the government make an announcement. Usually the government will give us kind of a direction, right? Like for example, now we already talking about restaurants and hairdresser and all those that are going to open. At the same time, before we open the country again, we have to have a clear timeline from the government. Okay. What is the timeline from the government when we are going to ready to open? And the most important thing is, David, before we open the hotel, before we open the country, you know that this SHA that TAT is now working on with Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Tourism, will have to be ready for all of us to be used as a guidance before we open the hotel. And this is going to be a very, very good tool for all of us to promote the country as a destination.
Okay, great. We've got one final question to squeeze in, and I need a 1-minute answer to this. Ranjit, who is at the Hilton in Phuket, has said a lot of chatter is going around that the volume of meetings will go down. People
Yes.
will meet remotely. Do you really think there is going to be a drastic change in how people perceive in traveling for meetings? Will the e-meeting, i.e. a hybrid meeting, be the new trend? Quick answer.
Definitely. Definitely, Kun David, that is a point for taking away for today. I think all of us will have to accept the change, okay? And this is going to be a trend. What we have to do now is to be ready to cope with this trend. Check if your bandwidth is okay, check if we have enough equipment and if it is updated. There will be people traveling for a meeting, but maybe the number of audience will be much less. Okay. The meeting is still there, incentive is still there, but the number of audience or number of participants will be much less. So you have to make sure in the meantime, make use of the time that you have before it's over to look into your standard of your product, working with TCEP on TMVS, AMVS, Thailand Meeting Venue Standard, talking to your engineer if you have enough equipment, if it is updated, talking to your IT to upgrade your bandwidth. This is very crucial. Talking to your food and beverage people, how are we going to set up the meeting room? What is the gap? I think the government already make it clear that it has to be 1.5 or 2 meters in between one participant to the other. So check on your meeting capacity again. Working on the new manual, new brochures, standard SOP will have to be in place now before it's too late.
Great, thank you. There's so much to discuss and we've run out of the hour. It's just flown by. I'd like to thank the panelists for joining us today and thank you as the participant for also coming in and joining our webinar. Thanks all round. I'd like to give a shout out and thank you to the organisations who've supported the webinar, which is TCEP, who've shared the information that this panel discussion is happening. To Tika, thanks Kumprachum and also Kunying at Tika who've shared news about the webinar. David, Delivering Asia, if you want to shout about anything in Asia and the region to the world, this is the man to go to. Thank you, Delivering Asia Communications. Mekong Tourism Coordinating Office, Jens, you've got a great initiative that you're launching. We should all support it. Communicate 31, Claire, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm waiting for your next book. And the Ordinary Success Project and the lady who keeps telling me, read the books over in Massachusetts with Joanne. Thank you so much. Next week, we're regathering and we've got the topic of sustainability, tourism, business, a future success story with Marissa Sukason from the Thai Hotel Association and chair of the Sustainability Committee, Maggie Lee from United Nations Environmental Programme, and a few others whose name escape me. So that's next week, same time, same place. Stay tuned, more to be continued, and I have to wrap up now. Thank you for joining.
David, before we end up the session, I would like to say a few things, only 1 minute, I promise. I would like to thank you who organized this event, and also other panelists, Kun David Johnson, Kun Joanne, Kun Claire, Jens, for putting this together and taking your time to share experience, exchange idea on how business should communicate in preparedness of rebound in business for Thailand on behalf of Thai people and people in the hotel and travel industry. Thank you very much. I think it's the time whereby we have to put our head, heart, and hands together so that we will make it through to this together, overcome all these challenges together. Thank you very much once again. ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you